Hello and welcome to the Garage Series. My name is Jeremy Chapman.
And I'm Richard diZerega.
So today we're coming from SPC in Las Vegas, and we've got a very important topic to talk about, Richard. Apps in SharePoint and across the Office 365 and Office stack.
That's right. So in the past, we've shown a lot of love to the client application, so building apps for Office. Today, we're at SPC, and we're going to show SharePoint some love with some really great apps that work deeply in that platform.
One of the common questions I get is, does this new app model, the thing we used to call the cloud app model, apply to me on premises?
That's right. There's a common misconception that this is something, because we call it cloud apps, that it only works in the cloud. That is not true. We can build these apps. They can run on-prem, they can run in Office 365, and they can work across that platform.
And we've got a lot to show for you today in terms of how we can get apps to work in ways that you might have been using them on premises using this new app model. And we're going to have some fun in terms, we're in Vegas, we want to have some fun with this. We're going to have a lot of great demonstrations of you having a fun, crazy 24 hours in Vegas. But before we get started, let's have a look at today's trivia.
True or false? You need your own local SharePoint environment to build apps for SharePoint.
Stay tuned for the answer at the end of the show. So Richard, tell us about the new apps for SharePoint model.
Yeah, so really the ultimate goal of the app model is to make sure that we can extend the platform without breaking shared components. So if we take a look here at this diagram, this is kind of the traditional world that we think about when we think about the productivity platform. So we have SharePoint, Exchange, and Office. And if I wanted to extend this platform in the past, what I ended up having to do was install my customization on the platform. So it ran on the exact same shared resources as the platform was running on.
Right, but this platform here is representing the on-premises world and model. Does this all apply to an on-premises environment, this new apps model?
Absolutely. So what we need to do ultimately is get these gears, get this customization, we need to get it off of this platform. And so what we did is we said, let's take this platform, both in the cloud with Office 365 and on-premise, and let's extend it through a whole new set of APIs.
And
So
one of the ways I also like to think about this, being a deployment and app compact guy, if you think about it from the IT pro perspective, when we modify what's on the SharePoint machine with managed code and maybe customize that a bit, it's harder to service what's underneath that. So foundationally, you have issues in terms of applying service packs, maybe upgrades to SharePoint, because it's kind of wrapped in that blanket of customization that is hard to break from and hard to make sure that's going to continue to work. Whereas now this new model is abstracting these layers outside of that box.
That's right. It's been a problem in the past. When I had this customization here, if something went wrong with it, it could certainly bring down things like SharePoint, or if I need to apply things, it could bring down my app. And so what we can do now is we can actually run our customization outside of the platform. It can connect to all those APIs, and we can do the same types of things that we have been in the past, just in a safer way.
And that's great, because if you're running SharePoint on premises, you can basically benefit from the same rationale that we had to move into this cloud model, because then you can service your environments, you're abstracted from that physical machine, all these things can continue running, and you don't have to worry about all of the normal maintenance tasks that you might have on premises as an IT pro.
That's right. There's more benefits than that. I mean, in the past, if I was a SharePoint developer, I basically had to carry around this back-breaking laptop. So this isn't even a big example of it, but this is the type of thing that I'd have to carry around in the past. Now, because I don't need to run Windows Server and SharePoint and SQL and the Office web applications on here, I can develop in something as small as a little slate here.
Right, and you think about it from an IT pro perspective, we all know that SharePoint does like its RAM. So you need to have a big environment sometimes in order to get all this stuff working, whereas now, because we're using SharePoint Online effectively as our development and test environment, I can use a slate, I can even use a non-Windows device if I wanted to test some of this stuff out.
That's right. Beyond that, there's been this constant butting of heads between an IT pro and an IT dev in the SharePoint development land. When a developer built something, they had to pass off their assets to an IT pro that could then at some point deploy it to the environment. Now, all I need is a site collection. That's all I need to be given to me as a developer, and I can develop all day without any impact on the farm.
And we've done a lot of great work in terms of extending the reach of the apps beyond just Windows devices. We've also announced, even at SharePoint Conference, SDKs for Android, and we've had SDKs across the various platforms that are in normal use for a while now.
That's right.
So why don't we have a look at some of this, because I know you've done some great demonstrations really tailored to our setting here in Las Vegas. So why don't you go ahead and get that set up, Richard? So one of the other great things about this is that I can now also use standards to develop my applications. So I don't have to worry about having really specialized developer skills to get apps for SharePoint or for Office to work. These are things using Java and standards for web development. So let's have a look at what Richard's developed.
You know, Vegas is really known for reimagining experiences. I think the Venetian Hotel is a great example. As you walk through here, it's like Venice reimagined. We have, you know, canals with gondolas. It's a whole new version of Venice here in Vegas.
Totally.
And
when we think about all the different other iconic places as we're driving through Vegas or walking through Vegas, it's really about reimagining and getting the real in a different way, and redelivering how you might do something in that traditional style.
That's right. I'm glad you said that, Jeremy, because the app model's the same way, right? We can deliver the same types of experiences we have in the past with full trust code. We just might need to rethink the way we do it. It might be a little different, but the end result can be very, very much the same.
Right, and we've been out with the apps model for quite some time now. We've been hearing feedback from people. What are the 3 common things that you can name that would be the top 3 maybe misconceptions or perceptions that I can't do with the app model that I can do on premises?
That's right. I would say probably one of the most common things that we hear is user experience. When you say my app is now going to run somewhere else on some other web server, maybe on the other side of the world, how am I going to have a cohesive user experience where it doesn't feel like I'm jumping around to different websites? So that's one. The second one we hear by far is branding. People want to brand with the app model.
Right.
That's something that they've done with full trust code, so they want to be able to do that.
They want to make sure it's consistent with their corporate look and feel, whether I'm in even the OneDrive sites or in my normal SharePoint sites.
That's right. And then finally is more of the deep customization things we hear about. So things like even timer jobs. How can I do a timer job with the app model? And so what I thought we'd do is, you know, another thing Vegas is known for is having a good time. And so what we thought we'd do is try to put apps to the test in a fun and crazy 24 hours here in Vegas using SharePoint and apps.
You're a wild man, Richard.
I know.
Let's have a look.
Let's take a look. So I'm here on my SharePoint site, and you can see that I've built an app called the Vegas Fun Planner. And what this is going to do, it's going to help us put together a set of locations that we want to scout out. We want to go find all the great places for our 24 hours of fun. And so what I'll do is I'll go over here and I'll go ahead and trust this application. And when I trust this, what you're going to see is I'm actually going to jump out of SharePoint. This is what we call a provider-hosted app, which means the application runs somewhere else. In this case,
it's localhost.
It's localhost, yeah.
So
when you talk about a web server, people think I have to do it in the cloud. In this case, I happen to be on localhost. That's certainly not Azure or the cloud. It's just my local machine.
Right.
So, but you notice that we already have things that very much look like SharePoint. Even though I've left SharePoint, I have things like the Chrome control, so it has that same kind of top navigation look and feel, the icons, all the same stylings. So that's one thing that we have here that we can really deliver that user experience. You also notice that I have a list view. That's something that a lot of people would be very surprised to think that we can deliver in one of these provider-hosted apps. You can see it has all the same look and feel, and this is actually connecting to a real list. So I'm going to click New Task here, and we'll see yet another example of a user experience that you would think would be hard to deliver. So this is actually a taxonomy picker. We're actually connecting to the Manage Metadata service in SharePoint, looking at a taxonomy that we have of different Vegas activities. And I can go in here and I can do different things like type maybe bars, and you can see that it gives me suggestions. But I can also use this in the other ways that a taxonomy picker can be used. So I can actually navigate through the entire hierarchy of all of the terms I have. So I might look under entertainment, and let's look in rides and see if I can't find an amusement ride that we could do here in Vegas. Lots of cool rides down the strip.
Definitely.
So here's where apps gets really cool. What we've done here is we've actually connected to another service. So we've connected to Yelp and Bing, and brought all of this data together in a great mashup. So you can see I have a number of different locations around Vegas that we can go and scout out. Looks like this one here has a pretty good rating, so I'll go ahead and click on that. So now I have my task form, and we're really presented with yet another great example of a user experience that you would think would be hard to emulate, and that's a people picker. So in this case, I'm going to assign a task to someone on my team to go scout a location, and you can see the assign to field here. As I start typing, I get suggestions. So this is doing a real lookup against users in SharePoint.
Wow.
SharePoint on premise, SharePoint in the cloud, we don't care. We can do that anywhere.
Okay.
And so I can go and resolve Nathan Miller here, and then maybe what I'll do is go ahead and click save, and we'll go and create this task for him to scout out this amusement ride location.
Very cool. So it's able to plug into the People API, do all the work that we would expect to do with an on-premises environment, and here's running on localhost.
That's right. So now that we've got all these tasks together, we really have kind of the things that we need our team to go out and scout. I'm ready to have my team start using our SharePoint environment. So this is a team site that I put together here for our 24 hours of fun hangover style.
Yes.
And you can see that what I need to do is I've branded this site.
Right.
In fact,
looks like we've been branded.
We have been branded. And so, in fact, if I go to our OneDrive, my OneDrive site, my OneDrive has also been branded. So, you know, branding is a really important thing that people are asking for. They want to be able to do that in the app model. And we can certainly brand, but how do I brand something like a OneDrive where you could have thousands, tens of thousands within an organization?
Right, and I'm going to want to automate that and not put the onus on the end user to try to brand his own site.
That's right. So the traditional way of doing this with a farm-trusted solution is through something called feature stapling, where we'll staple a branding package on top of every OneDrive site that gets created. Now, unfortunately, we can't feature staple. So here's one of those cases where we need to reimagine it. So the way we might do this is maybe by funneling all our users through one location, like an internet landing page. So that's actually what we're doing here. If you look on this landing page, down at the bottom, you can see there's a little web part that says you've been branded. And so here's one of my colleagues here, Israel Vega. You notice that his OneDrive site, as I refresh it, it doesn't have custom branding applied.
It's the standard default white and blue template.
Yeah, absolutely. So we want to be able to brand this. And so when we go and we send an actual invite to Israel, maybe as a new employee or maybe as we launch a site, we would bring him through this main landing page.
And I can see it's working on something.
That's right. So what that's doing down there at the bottom right is that web part or app part is branding. And then you can see it says, you've been branded. And now if Israel clicks back on his OneDrive, he has been branded. How about that?
Very cool. Wow, look at that. The branding just gets taken over. So he doesn't have to do any work. You don't have to worry about feature stapling. Right there with the new app model, you're able to get that OneDrive site even branded. Very cool stuff. So what else do you have for us?
Well, so what I thought would be cool is, you know, as our different team members are going all about town and scouting these locations, is I want them to upload their pictures. So at the end of all this, we can go look at all the different pictures that they took at all these fun places.
Okay.
So what I might want to do is maybe create a folder here for Israel to go and upload his pictures. Now, this isn't any sort of special folder. It's just any folder that we might want to go out here and create. So I'll go in and create a folder as Israel, and I'll just call this maybe foo, just for fun. And now what I'm going to do is go and grab some pictures that Israel took, and I'm just going to drag and drop those here into the browser. Great upload experience and user experience for uploading in SharePoint.
Drag and drop is awesome.
Okay, so we have pictures. Big deal. So what are we going to do with the app model with this?
Well, they say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, right?
Well, maybe not if you're a tenant admin, Jeremy.
Okay.
So we're going to build a timer job that can go out every night and pull down every picture. We're going to look for JPEGs and GIFs and PNGs, and we're going to go pull all those down from every user into like a blob storage so that we can go and monitor those.
Now that might sound a little bit scary for some people listening, but you know, for normal admins, you're putting things up like statements of how you should be using maybe your OneDrive site, maybe some company policies, other things that you're going to want to use timer jobs for, and you might want to be looking for different content types that are offensive. But you know, there are many uses of where we'd be using timer jobs in a on-premises environment.
That's right. It's a really common customization, and we commonly hear customers wanting to be able to do additional governance on OneDrive. So that's what we're going to do here. So let me open up Visual Studio, and you can see that I have here, it's just a console app that we're going to run here. And once I'm done with this console application, I could run this in like a web job in Azure, or I could run it as a scheduled task on a server on-premise. Ultimately, a timer job is a scheduled task, and so we're going to run it manually here.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and kick this guy off. And you can see that while it runs, I want to pull up this special tool that lets me look at my storage. So I'm going to go pull up our storage account, and as this runs, what you'll see is as I refresh this, it's going to be pulling in all of those pictures. So you can see them flowing in here. And now our timer job is done, and if I click on any one of these images, I can go and see the actual image. And it looks like Nathan here was having a bit too fun with a bidet, I guess, in one of the restrooms. But hey, it's Vegas.
Yeah.
Gotta have fun.
Things happen. So cool. So you're able to pull all those photos, put them right into an Azure storage blob. We also saw branding. We saw list views, people pickers, all of these things that you can do normally in an on-premises in the traditional way in that world, also working with the new app model.
That's right. Apps can do it all.
Very cool stuff. Thanks for showing that. But before we wrap up, let's have a look at today's trivia question.
True or false? You need your own local SharePoint environment to build apps for SharePoint.
So the answer to the question is false.
That's right. The app model is a significant investment area by Microsoft, and we're really doubling down on it. It's a better pattern for extensibility, and it works both in Office 365 and on-premise.
And I think one of the great things is we don't have to carry around that big hulking machine that we might have had with a SharePoint farm and environment on it.
That's right. Save your back, get a smaller laptop, do great development.
And we can get a lot of this content that you showed today on the show right on CodePlex, right?
That's right. Today you could go get a lot of these samples. They're on CodePlex. Go get them, build some great apps.
Awesome. Thank you, Richard. So that's about all the time we have for today. Thanks for watching, everybody, and goodbye for now.